He said in his email that they had another, the meeting in Washington was right at the same time.
Oh, okay. But we can go over the.
Yeah, I think that's all we want to do is remember the numbers and make sure.
Yeah, we just want to make sure that
We just want
what we've got.
confirmation.
Sure. The budget that we do have Channel 8 here. I thought it was interesting on the jail, right? So we're gonna tailor our parts of the project. I understand. Good. Okay. All right. Let's see. I'll go over this stuff with you after. So apparently, the question is now they've got the estimates, making sure we've got the funding from ARPA and the others to cover it, so they get to go ahead to go.
Yeah, and the bottom line was they just wanted to make sure before they finalized the CD and the DD, they just wanted to make sure they had the funding was there.
CD and DD.
The drawings.
Oh,
the construction drawings.
Construction drawings.
The DD is the more
design.
Design development.
Okay, because as I remember, do you remember what we had? Was it 15 million even from ARPA money?
Yeah, we had about 15 million remaining that we could use for this.
Yeah, and just for your education, because you'll be asking questions afterwards on it. One of the projects when we got the ARPA money, the recovery money, we could designate it for certain specific projects. Jails was one of the allowable ones. We've had quite a bit of growth in this area, and we elected to pay for it with ARPA funds, so we didn't have to put it on the property taxpayers right now. This will take care of jail capacity needs. One of the critical things we were finding was special housing bed deficits. And so this takes care of that, plus gives us more housing to handle future growth for probably the next, 15, 20 years.
Yeah, I think it sets us on a good glide path for the next 20.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the architects. We've hired them. They're wanting to make sure before they do the final construction drawings what we've got in the budget to cover their estimates, and that's what we're talking about today. So those costs were like 16.
So it was 16.8.
16.8 was without that optional spot.
Correct. Yep.
Okay. And the question was, what do we have earmarked for that?
Yes.
We got the $15 million in ARPA money, and we have approximately $3 million in our building construction fund. So that should cover the 17 plus, any change orders that may come along the way before we have to look for other sources of funding.
So I will let Ben know that they can go ahead and proceed and get the CD completed. I think the DD was at 75% last time we met. But I'll let them know they can get that completed and get the money available.
And the construction will start as soon as
Second week of May.
or as soon as the weather breaks,
Yes.
which may be second week of July this
Yeah,
year.
hopefully it's by May. We'll see.
Might still have snow on the ground in May.
It just doesn't end. So, I think that takes care of that. So if you have any questions you want to get before we get into just the regular reporting, or?
Not so far. That's good to go into get background for me.
Okay.
You guys can get into the regular reporting, and then if I can take your time afterwards and just ask general questions about that. But yeah.
Me and one of these guys probably also, since they're kind
Especially
of
with
overseeing.
the yeah.
Did we have a link we could pull up on those drawings? Did we want to pull up?
I think we've seen.
Yeah, Ben sent one out.
Yeah, and I could forward that to Kayla.
You send it to Kayla and she can put it on the
And
screen.
I'm
It's
just wondering-
probably
I have it up
interesting
right
to
now
show
if you
that.
need it.
And then you can talk to one of us in one of the sheriff's office.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, okay, what else we got on reports?
Well, obviously we've had a busy couple of days with the the snowfall. Our patrol group is pretty busy. People are getting better about driving on the roadways, kind of getting used to this.
Since it's been here since
Snowfall.
November,
Yeah,
they should
yeah.
get used to it.
But of course, we still have accidents and stuff occurring. We're completing our block training on the patrol side. We're in the final week of a 5-week training cycle, where we're just accomplishing all those different certifications and things that we have to do. We have a particular focus on active shooter response, so that's what they're working on today. That's where I just came from. We're using that IF Signs building. We're movements in there using simunition rounds, and retraining our personnel on breaching techniques and movement in rooms and stuff like that. So they'll be doing that all this afternoon over there at IF Signs. If you guys wanted to stop over, just make sure you tell them you're coming and put on safety glasses before you go in there. But I think it's been a really good training cycle that we've had with them. I think you guys saw that I put out a press release related to the drug cartels. Did you guys get a chance to see that?
Yeah.
So, in talking with the national sheriffs, the problems at the southern border are really drastic. What we're seeing with fentanyl, in conjunction with the city of Idaho Falls last week, we seized over 19,000 pills on the road and 1,000 pills out of a house here in Idaho Falls and $26,000 cash. All those pills are illicitly produced by the drug cartels with fentanyl in them. And based on the DEA's data now, 60% of those pills will be lethal. So anybody who gets a hold of those, if they don't have Narcan available or naloxone available and somebody there to administer it, could potentially die. So we did visit with the Post Register about that yesterday. I don't see this changing. We have 107,000 dead in the U.S. in 2022 from opiate overdose. We're going to continue to see that. Unfortunately, that nothing has changed. And in spite of law enforcement's best efforts, the border is porous, and the cartels are controlling the southern side of the border. So anybody who comes across who's being led across that border, they have to pay the cartels to come across if they come across anywhere other than a port of entry. So that's when you visit with the sheriffs from down there in Texas and along the Arizona border, it's pretty concerning what they're seeing. And we are going to continue to see that flow of fentanyl into our community. So we're continuing to do all the things that we're doing with the recovery center, the crisis center, and trying to stem that flow into our community, and hopefully get folks into recovery that have opiate addictions, and trying to message out to people how lethal the fentanyl is. And we've done a couple community town halls in conjunction with the prosecutor. That's what I bring up is that fentanyl related death that we're seeing and the number of pills we're seeing. We've had some situations in the jail, in the work release facility, and we had one in general population where we've actually had overdoses in the facility that we've been able to reverse. And you're seeing that in all of the counties. Do you have anything else on that?
We have a couple on your treatment piece. We have one in Stewards of Recovery. It's doing the PHP, the partial hospitalization treatment, and 2 currently with American Health.
So some of the things we're working on in conjunction with the jail and on the patrol side is, of course, we're trying to develop a medication-assisted treatment in the facility. In talking with the national sheriffs, if we use a drug like Suboxone, it actually provides a level of protection for the addict so that they're less likely to overdose, and also helps them with withdrawal symptoms so that they can actually progress in their recovery. And so we're looking at how we build that. I think from what I'm hearing at the national stage, that's actually going to be a requirement for jails, probably sometime in the next 2 years, I would bet.
Which this expansion kind of takes
Absolutely.
care of that, so we're a little ahead of that.
Yeah, that helps us, the expansion helps us in those treatment modalities inside the jail. Why don't you talk a little bit about our educational piece with CipherWorks?
Can I ask Owen a question
Sure.
before you go to there? So
Sure.
how expensive is that treatment that's gonna become
So,
required?
Suboxone is cheaper, but go ahead.
so America Health, we're the only treatment or the only cost they have, through Medicaid, they get the partial hospitalization fee. They can't do that while they're incarcerated, but stewards of recovery, just the one person they have, they actually are getting paid by Medicaid. So we actually have a meeting today at noon with America Health. We're gonna bring that up. Why can one get paid through Medicaid when the other one can't?
Right.
So it shouldn't be any cost to us other than, every once in a while, if we have someone that can't afford to work release fees to go out to treatment, we're gonna eat that cost.
Okay.
Right, so that's the one thing that we've said is if all that's standing between the person and treatment is that work release fee, we feel like it's reasonable to forego that work release fee.
Sure.
And get them into treatment. Obviously, it's still that federal taxpayer level that those things are being paid. Suboxone, oral Suboxone is the cheapest way to go. Of course, there's methadone, but there's a lot of protocols around methadone, and there's really no methadone clinics in our area. They have a long-acting Suboxone. It's called Sublocade, which is an injectable that they only have to get every 30 days, and it stays in their system. There's good and bad with that. If you can keep them on Sublocade, obviously they don't have to remember to take their pills. The problem is if you lose that connection with them for any reason and can't get them into the injection, there's a potential risk of overdose for those individuals. And so they've seen some bad outcomes across the U.S. related to that. But I actually have, just recently I've got a number from a group that's doing that at a lower cost. So we'll be looking at whether or not Sublocade, that injectable, would work for us here locally. The nice thing about that is you don't end up tying up your med providers in your jail to dispense that medication. It's just an injectable. So there's some potential with that. Any other pieces on American Health?
Just, that's kind of the process we're at, is them hiring some medication passers to pass the Suboxone. When they pass it, it's sublingual, so they have to absorb it under their tongue. So they have to sit there with them all the time, 15 minutes, and it takes right to absorb it.
Right.
So we don't want our medical staff to be burdened with having to sit there with them. So America Health was looking at hiring some part-timers just to pass that. That's kind of where we're at with them. That's what we discussed today.
So all that stuff's kind of, on a progression moving forward. On the CipherWorks piece, the education in the.
So CipherWorks, it's on the tablets the inmates have in the dorms. They have some education pieces on there. It's more low tech. It kind of lets them take some classes. They can do GED classes if they want. The only thing they can't do is testing. CipherWorks is right now paid for by Telmate. But we have pieces that we want to add on there. There's some treatment pieces, stuff like that. We want to put them on there too. If probation and parole or IDOC requires them to do some kind of programming, we really haven't had programming in the facility. But with these treatment pieces, hopefully, when parole wants a plan for them, discharge plan, and if they have a treatment class required in there, they can hopefully do that while they're sitting in jail tablets. Another thing was skill stacks. We're looking at getting skill stacks involved with that. With CipherWorks, we can add as long as we have a video and it can be interactive, we can actually put that in to CipherWorks. We can put it in ourselves for the inmates to be able to access.
Skill Stack's a statewide program that allows certification. They can get different levels of certification, and then that can help them with like apprenticeship programs and things like that in the community.
Yeah, so just trying to get instead of sitting there in jail for 18 hours a day playing cards or watching TV, we're trying to get them something to do to hopefully improve themselves when they get out.
And that, of course, ties into the Work Development Center, that building.
Yeah.
And working with them, we're building some of these pieces. Ideally, we want to see an opportunity to hand these individuals over that are either on a work release type process, or potentially when they discharge out of the facility, they have options to go to school and potentially get into a trade. So we're trying to pave that pathway with the College of Eastern Idaho and the workforce development, because we know we have a shortage of labor, and we have a lot of people that we could provide an opportunity for if they choose to take it. And so that's what we're trying to do, is make the jail a location where they're getting an opportunity if they choose to. So there's been quite a bit of work done on that.
It surprised me how many are on there. Yeah. And they actually get certificates that they can print out. So.
In addition to that, the National Sheriff's is running a program they call Ignite. They're going to be sending out a group probably in March or April that's going to look at what we have here and be able to help tie up any loose ends that we might have, because they've done this in other counties, and it's a process that they provide for free. So it's a group of subject matter experts that will come and look at what we have in place, and then give us recommendations on what else we can put in place to make this program work better. So we're looking forward to having those individuals come in and look at what we have and see how we can make it stronger. So it'll be a good thing.
Take my hat off to you guys, for the aggressive nature, trying to provide a lot of these options. It's, even looking forward, even looking far enough ahead to have the facilities to accommodate them. I think it puts us ahead of a lot of areas.
Yeah, there's no question that when the special housing unit is completed, we'll be in a very good position to provide these programs, and to also deal with individuals that have substance use disorder in our facility, which we're seeing already. It's just a matter of having a facility that will help us do a better job there. And I think for the long haul, that's really what we need as a community. And it'll be a good setup when it's completed.
What was the timeline for the construction?
We're starting in spring, May.
Yeah,
I know they're starting in the spring, but what about?
Their goal is to start around the second week of May and be done by fall of next year. Late summer, fall.
They can do it through the summer. They think they can have it done.
They were thinking 18
This-
months.
Yeah, I was gonna say, this normally takes about 18 months when we built the first jail.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so I think that's what they were talking about, right, is about an 18-month build cycle.
So we're talking fall of 2024.
2024, yes.
Is when we'll have the,
Yeah, most of that, so we can kind of plan on the expenditure, and when that comes due, so Brad can track it, because he's going to track all of the ARPA funding, and then Craig Tibbetts can take care of making sure the cash is there. So
yeah, I mean, the majority is going to be in the next budget cycle.
yes.
Kevin, did you have anything?
Yeah, just a couple of things. I'll pass these two documents down for those guys. This is just a really brief summary from Weston, reviewed by Scott, on the reporting requirement tied to the ARPA funding for this particular project. If you're looking at page 1, you should have a highlight on the number 1. That's the area that Weston has determined is applicable to us, and there's 4 bullet points that should be highlighted, which is the number of employees of contractors and subcontractors, the number of employees on the project hired directly and hired through a third party, the wages and benefits of workers on the project, and for whether those wages and rates are less than those on the prevailing scale, which is a Department of Labor scale. This is in lieu of that Bacon Davis requirement, which was pending, and so we're in a project status that has 3 tiers in it, and this is the tier that's outlined after we went through it. As a side note, that document, and Weston refers to it, I believe is 447 pages long, that we went through to make that determination. So he was, I think, pretty diligent in isolating this down to a very condensed version that applies to us at this point. On the second page is a highlight of a bar graph that Weston put forth to us, which is the third bracket there, which is highlighted and outlines the written justification requirements of where we're at. So it is not necessarily an extensive reporting requirement, but we will have to work with our contractor to determine, for instance, any employees that come from out of state or out of the region and that process. And I've been in discussions with Doyle from Bateman Hall on specifics related to that. We've also had a discussion on specifics to maintain security while we have jail operations, while we make access. And then one thing I have specific to you guys would be that there is the impound area, which is that new fenced area we added to the west there so that we could open up the expansion area, is we may need about 2 more loads, maybe 3 with the assistance from Road and Bridge. We provided the reimbursement of that from Sheriff's Office funding to allocate that. But if you're okay, I'll have a discussion with Lance, since it'll be a fairly minor move at this point. But there's just a swell in there, and the rock chucks have been fairly determined in creating us a problem in that, so we need to do a couple adjustments there. But we need to make those maneuvers to move, and then assuming probably May, that just as we start to make
When
these
you
things.
check with Lance, I mean, they're always getting that clean fill over there, and they could maybe just divert it over so we don't have to haul it.
Yeah, that's correct, yeah. I was, with Lance's permission, I'll just coordinate with Kenny to make it easy. So, and then the third part, and by the way, they were very amenable in that last project and did it with some efficiency and some ease of movement that wasn't that extensive. So it came in with less of an impact than so. And third, the temporary staging area, potentially where that fenced area is just to the north, which is in the Road and Bridge zone, if you will, of the county property. They're kind of by where the tires are stacked. There's a little corner in there that contractor believes that if we use the asphalt out there in the front for a full staging area, by the time they stack brick and some of the forms and stuff required there, we may fully block that, or at least he's wondering about accessing over there, at least during the construction duration with some of that things that would come in. For instance, if they get a brick supply, being able to stage it over there to the north side of that current impound area.
Here's another thought, because 3B is not gonna do the garden this year.
Potentially
We've got
stage
that-
it out there.
We got that strip of property where the garden is,
Or
and
easier
it's
for them to get to.
a few hundred feet down there, but, you know, for staging, if they're just gonna dump off a couple loads of brick, you know, then they can move it from there. That might help the overflow too.
I think we're amenable to that. It's just a matter, we will need an area that's probably actually bigger than what we have there. It's gonna chew up all that parking.
Well,
That'd be a good staging
And
location.
rather than dumping a lot of that stuff on the parking area, cause damage there, you know, they might be able to just pull, because I think there's a curb cut in there and everything.
Someone's gonna hit a light pole, it's gonna happen.
Find out from Bateman Hall though for sure, because we probably ought to let Brian know so that he doesn't
Okay.
line up anything.
He's the one that mentioned.
Yeah, he does, he's not
Another
going
use for
to,
that, let's do it.
but I can see somebody else wanting it, so we should let him know.
Will you touch base with Brian on that?
Yeah, not immediately though.
Within the next month. Brian needs to know,
Oh,
Yeah, we'll call them today.
yeah.
yeah. And I'm sure he would, knowing the history of that,
Oh, yeah,
you know, because he doesn't want to have to get in there and take care of the weeds, and things like
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, we might be able to easily trade that out to at least maintain it for the next 18 months while we do that. And they're, just based on the brick quantities and some of the staging that's required, they were concerned that it would be fairly, they were looking at, you know, absorbing most of a 3/4 of an acre to an acre just in stacking.
no, I can't remember what's there, I think it's pretty
I
close
think
to
there's a
an
couple.
acre.
I bet there's between 3/4 and an acre,
Yeah.
yeah.
That'll free up part of our parking lot though.
And the safety issues, because
Yeah.
it's one thing to have a place to stack it, it's another to have room enough, big enough to get the big forklifts and stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, no, I think that's
a graded spot, I think.
Okay, that's the total I have. That document, just so you know, is
Can you
is
get
very
that to
condensed
Brad?
version. Yeah, and this is actually, Brad's kind of the lead on this, so I'm just,
Well, just so that he doesn't have to read the 400
yeah,
pages.
yeah, we're dialed in. We've had some sideline discussions. And he's been really, positive to work with, so, pretty efficient in that way, but there's gonna be some coordination, which was a concern for the contractor about how much data do they have to track from the get-go where we get this going. So we'll have to have some people in place to get these numbers out, probably from the time we start our first invoices. So we're not in a backlog issue.
Okay,
Anything else?
Just got the meeting coming up with, Ivy Medical. They're gonna come and explain to you why 22% increase is needed.
okay, and I may be in Salt Lake that day, but
When is that set up for?
22nd.
Okay, next Tuesday.
21st.
I think it was Tuesday.
So,
Are we looking at other options?
yes,
Yeah, it's the 21st.
we have a couple
do have a
other
couple
options.
options.
Obviously, we'd have to go to RFP.
Yeah.
For that. I've had a couple other sheriffs in this corridor contact me about this same issue. But unfortunately, the cost of medical has gone up considerably.
Yeah.
So even if we RFP that, chances are our costs are going to increase, no matter what.
He's pretty, Dalen is CEO, he's pretty confident that the 22% is cheaper than the bid that they RFP.
But it doesn't hurt.
No, it doesn't hurt to do some comparison for sure. So,
The RFP is kind of a radiator cap.
Yes.
yeah, and it's probably time, I think.
Yeah, and we're actually spending a lot more time on transports. Won't take people out for outside appointments. We're almost at 10 a month, and we're probably about 3 a month with Dr. Keller.
Right, and there was no question that, Jeff spoiled us in the way that he conducted business and took care of the facility.
How much of that qualifies for a minute, Kate?
Only if they're hospitalized over 24 hours.
Is that a state statute or?
I think that's federal.
That's a federal.
Yeah, they tried to get that changed, haven't been successful yet.
There's still a lot of movement occurring on those statutes though, and especially as it relates to substance use. There's a lot of changes coming. It'll be interesting to see, what this looks like in a year. Potentially there's a lot of discussion about that going away entirely as far as them losing the Medicaid when they're in the facility. I don't know if that will ever happen, but there's a lot of discussion around it.
Well, that's really an unfair burden to put on property tax. When you
Well, there's-
consider all that medical.
There's 2 or 3 other settlements in the pipeline on the opioid thing that maybe we could take a look at that.
Yeah.
We used the first settlement primarily for pretrial release, because that keeps them out of your jail the best they can, which is kind of a diversion program. But if there's ways of using this to offset these increases, it's primarily because of the opioids, even the treatment you're talking about for Suboxone and things like that qualify for that.
Okay.
So it's something as soon as we hear, because I think they said there were 3 other companies you're trying to settle with.
Yeah,
So
yeah, there's more coming.
unfortunately,
Yeah.
anyway,
I think that's all we've got then.
okay,
Thank you.
you have questions?
Yes, but I think it'd be individually with that. I was thinking about talking to you about the budget with this because you mentioned
Okay, and then you
a source of income for this which would help out to relieve some of the taxpayers. I was like, oh, hey, I want to talk about that. I want to talk about construction. And then definitely talking about.
this is Sheriff Sam Hulse, so.
Hi, nice to meet you actually. Officially, I've always talked to Brian Lowell, so.
Yeah. Yeah, Brian handles a lot of the media stuff, so.
I was wondering if I could talk to you about fentanyl and some of that stuff that you mentioned.
Sure.
With this, especially with the new jail, how that will affect or help out with this.
Sure.
Okay.
Brian's better looking than the sheriff, but.
That's true.
Hey,
That's
everybody's
very
better
true.
looking than me.
Okay, do you see somebody, I see somebody on from KIFI?
Are you gonna make the?
Yeah, that would be.
Yeah.
Okay.
As soon as I'm done here, I'll come over to that.
Producer Curtis said you might try to check in just in case I was
Okay.
gonna get in.
All right.
Exactly.